Hello, welcome to Module 1 Orientation to the Standards PowerPoint for the online introductory course on the Massachusetts Standards for Preschool and Kindergarten Social and Emotional Learning and Approaches to Play and Learning. This is the first of 5 modules that you will be reviewing for this course. The expectation is that you will view the Module 1 PowerPoint and complete the Module 1 assignments by their due date during the first week of the course. Please note that not all of the slides will have voice recordings, but many will. In addition, when you are viewing the PowerPoint, you can pause, stop, fast forward, and rewind using the navigation bar at the bottom of the screen. So, for example, when I ask that you reference supplemental information or complete an assignment, you can pause this video and then return to it. Although we recommend that you try to complete the PowerPoint in one sitting, you can also stop it and return to it later if need be. In this case, you would forward the video to return to the spot where you stopped. Please remember that when you stopped, note of the time on the video so that you can return to this point at a later time. This project is funded by Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge Grant and developed in collaboration with the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care, the Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and the Collaborative for Educational Services. On this slide, there are a variety of icons. Each of the icons indicates a booklet or an assignment that I will be addressing on a particular slide during this course. For example, if I'm referencing a particular page in the Standards Booklet, you will see the Standard Booklet icon, the picture of the teacher with all the children on the left side of your screen, in the upper left corner of the slide with a corresponding page number. The pictures of the booklet icons are taken from the front pages of the various booklets. So please remember that if you see one of these 7 icons, I am asking that you either reference one of the 3 booklets or complete an assignment. I strongly recommend that you print out the course booklets before proceeding so you are familiar with what image is on the front cover of what booklet. If you choose not to print the booklets, please open the booklets on your computer for easy access and reference. This slide describes the basic content of the course. As I mentioned, please look at the icon in the upper left-hand corner of the slide. You see the icon for Booklet 1 and a reference to page number 2. Please take a moment and turn to that page. On page 2 of Booklet 1, you will see the requirements for obtaining 1 CEU or 10 PDPs for the successful completion of this course. Please take a moment to review the requirements. If you have any questions, please post them on the course discussion board on Blackboard on the question and answer thread. Before moving into the content of the course, I wanted to take a moment to address the notion that early educators sometimes use different language, although we're all in the same field. For example, a kindergarten teacher may use the word student, whereas a family child care provider might use the word children. A public preschool teacher may use the word classroom or education setting, whereas a private child care provider might use the word program. Although I've tried to be as inclusive as possible in the terms that I use, I want to ask you to remember that when I say one, I mean both. This is the case for me and all participants in this course. So if you see a term that you don't typically think of applying to you, know that you are included in that time. Moving back to the course content. In Module 1, this will provide an orientation to the standards and it will provide a foundation for the course. Module 2, Special Populations, is discussed and how the standards apply to children from varied special populations, but also emphasizes that all children need individualized plans to support their SEL and APL development. The process of looking at children is universal, but how to address their needs is individual, not universal. In Module 3, Curriculum, Instruction, and Implementation, it's designed to look at the standards specifically in the education setting, implementing them in the education setting, and individualizing the needs of children in SEL and APL development. In Module 4, Observation and Assessment, it looks again at the individual needs of the child and how to use observation and formative assessment to understand these needs in order to best support the child. In the final module, Module 5, Family Engagement, this will address the importance of forming equal and strength-based partnerships with families to work together to support children's SEL and APL development. Please take a moment to review the instructions for your first self-reflection activity. As I mentioned on Blackboard, under Start Here, Creating and Submitting Assignments, although self-reflection activities are not graded, I strongly encourage you to complete the activities because they will help you with your journal entries and your discussion board posts. They are designed to provide you with more insight and knowledge of the SEL and APL standards, and your written work should demonstrate this deeper understanding. For this activity, you will either trace your own hand on paper, drawing a heart in the palm area, or download the handprint from Blackboard under Module 1, Resources for Module 1. On the handprint, write on each finger a strength that you bring to your practice in the social-emotional domain. For example, when I'm working with children, I can be incredibly patient with them. You will be returning to this activity later, so keep it close. First, please note the icon in the upper left-hand corner of your slide. You will find the key messages for the entire course in Booklet 1 on page 1. Take a few minutes to review the key messages in your booklet. Remember, you can pause this video, review the booklet, and then come back. Now that you've read through the messages, I want to point out a few things. In the first bullet, about research, this is a change from the past. SEL used to be considered one of the domains of learning on par with other domains. Recent research has caused a shift in our thinking about SEL, and it is now considered to be foundational to all of the other learning domains. Also, with Bullet 2, I want to be sure that you realize that high-quality early education and care has always prioritized SEL and APL as central domains of children's learning. Please take a look at this slide for additional key messages. Remember that if you need more time to review the key messages on the PowerPoint video, you can always pause this presentation and look at the slide in more detail. And here's the final slide of the key messages for this course. Something to note about the second bullet is that authentic assessment takes place when children are engaged in spontaneous interactions in familiar settings. We also use the term formative assessment in the assessment module, which is Module 4 of this course. Authentic assessments are always formative assessments, but not all formative assessments are authentic. For an example, an educator might structure an activity to determine which letters a child knows. This would be formative, but not an authentic assessment. Also, in the last bullet on this slide, I want to remind you of the when I say one, I mean both when I reference the above. When the term parents is used in this course, the term is intended to be inclusive of all types of primary caregivers. Throughout this course, these messages are going to be revisited a number of times in different ways in each of the modules, and just as a reminder, they can be found in your course resource Booklet 1 on page 1. Module 1, Orientation to the Standards. Please take a moment to look at the learning objectives for you for this module. This will be our agenda for Module 1. Please take a few minutes to review the instructions for the self-reflection activity. This activity is designed to help you to start becoming more familiar with the Massachusetts Standards Booklet. Please pause this video and complete this self-reflection activity. This quote is from the National Center for Culturally Responsive Educational Systems, cited in NAEYC Early Learning Standards Position Statement. The National Center for Culturally Responsive Educational Systems defines standards as the broadest of family of terms referring to expectations for students' learning. This position statement uses the term early learning standards to describe expectations for learning and development of young children. One of the benefits of standards is to identify common language and ultimately common goals. Standards also provide general expectations, but the implementation of standards always require individualization. In other words, standards do not standardize educational practices, although they do set specific expectations for children's development and learning. Also, the Mass SEL APL standards provide benchmarks for accomplishments that children may demonstrate at the end of preschool and kindergarten, in recognition that children's development is individual and may vary widely from predictable norms. This slide presents 4 reasons why it is important to know the SEL standards for preschool and kindergarten and to actively use them in guide practice. Please take a moment to read through these 4 reasons. Now that you know what early learning standards are and why they are important, I would like to take a moment to provide a brief history of the Massachusetts standards. This was a shared initiative by the Department of Early Education and Care, otherwise known as EEC, and the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, ESE. The standards were created in collaboration with a UMass Boston team after an alignment study found SEL and APL gaps in other standards currently being used in Massachusetts. The Massachusetts standards bring attention to critical areas of development and learning and support a learning continuum from birth through school age. Massachusetts began work on the standards in August 2014. Part of this was researching other state standards and guidelines, consulting with national experts and early childhood professionals in Massachusetts. The result was the standards document, which was published in June 2015. Some early educators are curious about why the standards are only for preschool and kindergarten age children. During the alignment study, SEL and APL were adequately addressed in the infant and toddler learning guidelines, and it was determined, though, that the additional standards were needed for the preschool and kindergarten ages 2.9 to 6. Standards for older children were beyond the scope of this early learning project. Recently, there has been a movement to standardize the language used to describe social-emotional learning across the preschool to 12 spectrum. A first step is the Foundations of Learning document that you will find on page 3 of your course resource booklet 1. This is noted by the icon on your slide. Please pause this video and read the Foundations of Learning document in your booklet 1. This slide describes the contents of the SEL APL Standards Booklet. Please pause this video and take a moment to look in your booklet and familiarize yourself with all the different sections. This definition of social and emotional learning is provided by CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning, a leading resource and advocate for SEL. SEL relates to understanding and managing our emotions, relationships, setting and achieving goals, and responsible decision-making. Social and emotional learning requires both knowledge and the ability to apply that knowledge. So the question, of course, is always, why is social and emotional learning important? The foundations of social competency that are developed in the first 5 years are linked to the emotional well-being and affect later ability to functionally adapt in school and to form successful relationships throughout life. This quote is supported by many years of research, including longitudinal research, that clearly shows the long-term impact of social-emotional skills on success in school and life. This specific quote appears in your Standards Booklet on page 3. A solid foundation allows for a child to navigate new environments, facilitates the development of supportive relationships with peers and adults, and supports their ability to participate in learning activities. This last one particularly is important for teaching professionals. In the absence of a solid social-emotional foundation, the child's likelihood of later success diminishes. Another research-based quote that drives home this message is from Head Start. Positive social and emotional development provides a critical foundation for lifelong development and learning. In early childhood, social and emotional well-being predicts favorable social, behavioral, and academic adjustments into middle childhood and adolescence. It helps children navigate new environments, facilitates the development of supportive relationships with peers and adults, and supports their ability to participate in learning activities. This slide depicts an image of a camera lens and expands the definition of SEL and APL into practice implications. The goal is for educators to understand that teaching practices, due to various pressures, have often minimized focusing on the whole child and creating nurturing environments that support children's social and emotional growth in order to prioritize the pursuit of academic accomplishments. We must look through a different lens, one that focuses on a whole child and a nurturing social and emotional growth, if we hope for short and long-term positive outcomes. A growing body of research from a variety of disciplines show that when there is greater focus on SEL and APL in early childhood, classrooms, and teaching, children learn more and have better educational outcomes. There is increasing pressure on educators for measurable, test-driven learning, but ultimately, when an SEL-APL focus is prioritized, research says more children will thrive in educational environments. The educational focus must be on the whole child for the whole child to succeed. Early educators have always known this, but their expertise is not always supported in the current educational climate, with its increasing early emphasis on traditional academic achievement. A solid social-emotional foundation must be laid for children to have the best chance to succeed. This slide shows that all 50 states have freestanding standards for SEL at the preschool level. All of the national experts consulted about this course have expressed admiration for Massachusetts being on the cutting edge in creating this standards document and for the strategy of providing resources for the statewide professional development course to provide information to the field. In addition, the Building the Foundations of Future Success document, which can be found on page 3 of your course booklet 1, articulates the importance of SEL alignment through grade 3. To illustrate the current national climate, a context analysis of early learning standards has revealed that more and more states have standards for SEL starting in early childhood, albeit less systematically and with fewer indicators than cognitive skills. Effective SEL programming begins in preschool and continues through high school. All 50 states have preschool SEL standards. Many states have integrated SEL standards within academic standards. On this map, you see how few states have freestanding SEL standards with developmental benchmarks at the K through 12 level. This is in stark contrast with the earlier map of the freestanding standards for pre-K. Massachusetts is in medium blue because our new standards include kindergarten. The key to the map is as follows. The dark blue states indicate that the state has a comprehensive freestanding standards for SEL with developmental benchmarks at different grade levels. Medium blue indicates the state has comprehensive freestanding standards for SEL with developmental benchmarks for some grade levels, for example, K through 3. The light blue indicates the states that have some freestanding standards for SEL, but they're not comprehensive and or may provide some resources to support SEL. Gray, which is most of the map, indicates that the states have freestanding SEL standards with developmental benchmarks not yet available, although they may be under development. This is a slide about SEL and APL outcomes. Research shows a link between SEL and student gains and the reduction of other risks. Some of the data from this slide can be located in Durlock et al. 2011, The Impact of Enhancing Students' Social and Emotional Learning, a Meta-Analysis of School-Based Universal Interventions. This is a meta-analysis of 213 school-based universal social and emotional learning programs involving 270,034 kindergarten through high school students. Compared to controls, SEL participants demonstrated significantly improved social and emotional skills, attitudes, behavior, and academic performance that reflected an 11 percentile point gain in achievement. School teaching staff successfully conducted the SEL programs. The use of 4 recommended practices for developing skills in the presence of implementation problems moderated program outcomes. The findings add to the growing empirical evidence regarding the positive impact of SEL programs. Policymakers, educators, and the public can contribute to the healthy development of children by supporting the incorporation of evidence-based SEL programming into standard educational practice. Just to clarify, increased self-efficacy and confidence are components that are more commonly termed self-esteem. These are the social emotional competencies, or the headings for the social emotional standards, which we will see in a few slides. The standards are divided into 2 sections, social and emotional, and approaches to learning and play, which we will revisit in a moment. This may not be new information to you. You are already incorporating some of it into your daily practice. However, it is important to look at daily practice and classroom climate to see how to increase the intentional support of each of these competencies. This course is designed to highlight social emotional and bring it into the consciousness of practice. It will stress intentionality of interactions with children around social emotional skill building, coupled with the understanding that positive learning cannot happen without a strong social and emotional base. Note the overlapping nature of the different competencies and reflect how they relate and overlap. Because of the overlapping nature, it is challenging to neatly sort the competencies into specific categories. For example, social awareness is important to relationship skills. Self-awareness is typically developed before and increases with social awareness. Scaffolding is important to the development of these different competencies. Scaffolding is interventions designed to help a child progress from their current skill level to a level just beyond their current competency, intentionally bridging the child between where they are and the next stage of developmental skill building. Children are not born with these skills. They need to be developed with the guidance of consistent, caring adults in a safe and stimulating environment and relationships. Just as children learn in different ways, I've included this slide to demonstrate other words that can describe the competencies. It's important to remember that preschoolers and kindergarten should not be expected to demonstrate any of these competencies on their own. They need a lot of support and guidance from adults. Cultural influences also significantly impact their skill acquisition. As they mature, their competencies will gradually increase along the continuum of growth that we will discuss in upcoming slides and throughout the course. This slide is presented to show what SEL standards look like on page 6 of your standard booklet. It may be difficult to read on the screen, so it may be preferable to read it from the standards booklet. Take a few minutes to read the SEL standards. The next slide is of a video entitled Building Adult Capacities to Improve Children's Outcome, A Theory of Change. It summarizes some of the main concepts that are discussed in this module.
The social challenges that face modern societies, whether it's the ability to work productively, to be a good citizen, stay healthy, have their roots in early health and development. A strong foundation in early childhood results in much better and more effective development later. A weak foundation really puts us behind. The most important thing children need to thrive is to live in an environment of relationships that begins in their family, but also extends out to include adults who aren't family members in child care centers and other programs. What children need is for that entire environment of relationships to be invested in their healthy development. We've shown from decades of testing interventions that we can improve outcomes. But the magnitude of those impacts is not good enough. Science is now available to help us think about what we might do that would have a bigger impact than the best of what we've done before. So we began to ask, what could we be doing differently? What could we do to be smarter? Children who are at the greatest risk for the poorest outcomes in learning and health and behavior are children who experience a pile-up, a cumulative burden of one after another of risk factors. And then the burden is more than any child could be expected to overcome. So we began to focus on the development of the adults. What could we be doing to strengthen the capacity of everyone who interacts with children? This led us to think about the kinds of skills you need to deal with adversity. These skills of focusing attention, planning, monitoring, delaying gratification, being able to solve problems, being able to work in teams, executive function and self-regulation. They're also the kind of skills you need to create a well-regulated home and school environment in which healthy development and learning can take place. And then brain science started to tell us that differences in those skills start to develop in infancy based on the environment kids live in. So how do those skills get built? Well, if you don't develop them early, how do you develop them later? Actually, you can build them later because the period of flexibility and plasticity for this part of the brain doesn't fully mature until age 25 to 30. And then the light bulb went on. The reason we're not getting a bigger impact is not because we don't know about how to influence development, but because we're giving information and advice to people who we need to do active skill building with. Skill building by coaching, by training, by practice, but we're not doing that. So we now have developed this theory of change that says we need to focus on the development of the adults who are important in kids' lives.
So try this.
How does that work?
That's a new idea. Buen trabajo.
We need to focus on their skills, their needs, in order for them to be better, more effective parents, in order for them to be better prepared to be employable, which would enhance the economic stability of the family, which is also good for children. Second of all, we looked at many people in preschool programs and child care centers. And we said, what are we doing to build those skills in the providers? They need skill building as well. And also the community can help to build and reinforce the capacities that parents need. And the community also includes programs in which the people who work in the programs have sufficient skills. Third of all, what are the major sources of toxic stress in this community and how can we reduce them? Moving it up to a policy level, how are our policies strengthening communities' abilities to reduce sources of toxic stress and caregivers' abilities to provide what kids need? The development of our human capital is our future. The development of a productive workforce is our future. The development of a healthy population is our future. This kind of future orientation is critical for healthy society. It's critical for a thriving business. It's critical for successful environmental relationships to raise children. It's all about being able to plan for the future, to have a future. And that's why this is so important.
After watching the video, which looks at supporting adult competencies, we turn back to the handprint activity that we started earlier in this module. Looking more closely at the SEL competencies, please identify which SEL standard is associated with the strength on each finger. In the heart on the handprint, list one SEL standard that you would like to learn more about or improve. SEL development is a lifelong journey that we're always working on and improving. This slide explains the importance of educators developing their own SEL competencies and also relates to the previous video. It's important that administrators understand the importance of supporting educators to develop their own competencies through professional development, reflective supervision, and working on building a climate that supports SEL at all levels of the educational system. After reading the definition of approaches to play, please note that this quote only addresses learning and does not actually include play as the Massachusetts standards do. We will address the critical importance of play for the development of social, emotional, and approaches to play and learning skills in the upcoming slides. In a moment, please pause the video and refer to page 21 of the Standards Booklet, the beginning of the APL descriptions. Note that the APLs are conveniently presented in one-word descriptions to make them easier to remember, and that the circle represents the interrelationship and connection between them. One of the questions, of course, is why are approaches to play and learning important? Play is an important vehicle for developing self-regulation as well as promoting language, cognition, and social competency. Please take a moment to reflect on why the standards refer to play and learning and not just approaches to learning. In the U.S., play is sometimes contrasted to learning as an activity. Part of an educator's role is to help parents, colleagues, and administrators understand the critical importance of play, especially self-directed play, as the young child's most natural and most important learning activity. It should be noted that play has a different role and prominence in different cultures. Consequently, children's play varies culture to culture. For example, active cultures promote exploration and movement for their infants in order to develop problem-solving skills. In other cultures, being inactive is a valuable use of time when meditation can be a problem-solving method. Also, what a lot of people don't think about is that play, particularly complex, dramatic, or make-believe play, is a crucial vehicle allowing children to develop and practice self-regulation skills. Such play allows children to gain an understanding of their emotions as well as feelings for others as they act out situations that induce strong emotions and resolve these feelings. It also provides practice in remaining within a prescribed role and play scenario and in establishing, negotiating, and following their own rules, and thus it promotes self-regulation skills more powerfully than adult-directed play. Please take a moment to pull out your Standards Booklet and refer to page 21 to see the approaches to play and learning standards. Also, keep in mind that relying solely on structured activities is not ideal for the development or demonstration of these skills. The research shows that these competencies are most effectively developed in a supportive and nurturing environment where children are provided with a variety of play materials and opportunities. Children need opportunities to direct their play and make their own decisions in order to learn these skills. For example, during play, children learn to take initiative, develop organizational skills, and demonstrate creativity in thinking and use of materials. Teachers can be very intentional in the choice of materials they provide for children to play with in order to foster thinking or skills of particular kinds, but also should allow children to make their own choices with those materials. Educators have an important role in fostering intentional play. Please reflect on why this quote refers to variations within and between cultures. It's never wise to make assumptions about an individual or family based on generalized cultural knowledge. There are many variations within cultures, and each family has a unique cultural identity that can only be discovered through experience and conversation with that family. It is the early educator program responsibility to adapt the learning environment to the culture of the child and the family, rather than the child and the family's responsibility to adapt to the program. Sometimes educators get this backwards. This is a discussion board activity about cultural differences in SEL and APL. This will be your first graded assignment. Please take a moment to read the instructions for the discussion board activity, which you can find here, but you can also find on Blackboard under Module 1, Discussion Board. Please also read page 9 of your Booklet 1 and reflect on an experience that you've had with a family that places a higher value on either individualism or collectivism. Just so you know, according to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, individualism is the belief that the needs of each person are more important than the needs of the whole society or group. Collectivism is an emphasis on collective rather than the individual action or identity. In other words, the needs of the group are more important than the individual needs of its members. Most cultures value both individualism and collectivism in a variety of contexts and ways. These are two extremes of the continuum that most often coexist in a specific family's culture. In a moment, please pause your PowerPoint video and return to the Blackboard. You will find this assignment under Module 1 Discussion Board. When you click on Discussion Board, please locate Module 1 Discussion Thread. Once on this thread, you will then create one discussion board post about this topic and eventually respond to 2 other participants' posts. You are required to post your initial discussion board post by Sunday and the 2 response posts by Wednesday of week 1 of this course. Your post should describe how the family demonstrates that they value individualism or collectivism and what you notice about the child's SEL and APL skills. Please remember that this assignment is worth 3 points, 1 for your initial post and 1 for each of your 2 response posts. These posts should be meaningful statements that contribute to the discussion. Please also remember your netiquette. Christian is one of 4 vignettes that have been created and will be referred to through various models throughout this course. Christian's vignette is on page 6 in the Course Resource Booklet 1. This vignette will be used in the next slide for an activity. Also, take a moment after reading the vignette to reflect on any judgment or bias you may have had about Christian's relationship with his mother. It's important to remember that cultural variations may affect children's work styles, including their comfort working independently or socially, and it may affect children's distractibility or ability to focus or their problem-solving strategies. Such variations must not be perceived as deficiencies, but as equivalent strategies. You can read about this on page 21 of your Standards Booklet. This is the second graded assignment for this module. This will be a journal activity about APL and Christian. In a moment, please pause your PowerPoint video and return to Blackboard. You will find this assignment under Module 1, Journal, Module 1. Please follow the instructions on the Blackboard page for the journal entry. This assignment is worth 1 point and will only be read by me and not by the other participants of the course. To help you, please make sure to open your Standards Booklet to page 21, which is the APL Standards list. This is a Connecting to the Standards slide. You will find 2 of these slides in each module, each addressing an SEL and an APL. These examples are different from those found in your Standard Booklet. All of the standards have corresponding Connecting to the Standards handouts that can be found in your Connecting to the Standards Booklet 2. There are also family-friendly versions of the standards in the Connecting to the Standards Booklet 2. The family-friendly versions are provided to help educators explain the standards to parents or caregivers and give them ideas about how to support SEL and APL at home. APL 6 is about a child seeking multiple solutions to a question, task, or problem. In order for the child to be able to seek multiple solutions to a question, task, or problem, we need to support, guide, and give opportunities for the child to practice these skills. It is just important for the adults in their world to model this type of behavior and problem solving. I encourage you to think about ways to integrate this standard into your practice with families and children. Thinking about Christian and looking at page 27 of your Standards Booklet for APL 6, where might Christian be at the end of preschool? Think about ways that you might support Christian in his development of APL 6. Although SEL and APL are separated in the Standards Booklet, it's important to remember that APL in the educational setting or home setting supports and encourages the development of SEL skills and vice versa. Children all have temperaments that they are born with. Some are more curious and engaging, while others are more cooperative and quietly creative. The encouragement of APL skill building, as described in the standards, will allow the child to be persistent in the face of challenges or frustration. Educators can help children take risks, make mistakes, try again, and work as part of a group. This skill development goes hand in hand with SEL skill building. For example, curiosity might relate to the new child in the educational setting. and lead to increased social awareness and relationship skills to engage with the child. Cooperation and creativity would play a role if the child chooses to work on a project or game with the new child. The field seems to be shifting, and some national experts feel that APL should be included under SEL, and that is an artificial distinction to separate them. Skill development for SEL and APL is not a yes or no, pass or fail. The development is based on a continuum of growth. The continuum is rarely neat and orderly. Children move along at different paces, but generally they follow the similar trajectory. Remember the importance of scaffolding, taking a child from where they are and helping them go just beyond their current competency, intentionally bridging the child between where they are and the next stage of developmental skill building. This slide is about the continuum of growth. I use a plant analogy. All plants need to follow a continuum of growth. As you can see, the top plant follows a very traditional trajectory. The bottom plant, however, has some plateaus along the way and takes a little bit longer to get there, but ultimately ends up in the same place as the top plant. To support the children in classrooms, educators must appreciate that they are all on a continuum of growth. With the right mixture of attention, guidance, and skill building, they will move more quickly along the continuum. Note the variation in children's needs. In the plant analogy, different plants thrive with different conditions and have different needs, such as dry soil or moist soil, low light or intense light. No one approach or one size fits all for all plants or children. Children may vary in their ability to navigate less than ideal situations, and some need more support than others. Adults need to support the resiliency for all children for them to succeed. Please consider the questions on this slide while viewing the video on the next slide. The video which you're about to watch depicts a well-known experiment on the topic of young children's ability to delay gratification and master impulse control, which is SEL 6. Please pay close attention to the boy and girl that are different ages but at the same table in the video.
Okay, scoot up. Okay, so here's the deal. There's a marshmallow. You can either wait, and I'll bring you back another one, so you can have two, or you can eat it now. So you can eat it now, or you can wait, and I'll bring you back two. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, I'll be back. Okay, so I have one marshmallow for each of you.
Okay. Don't eat it?
And here's the deal. You can either eat it now, or you can wait till I get back, and you can have two. Okay?
Okay.
So eat it now, or wait till I get back, and you can have two. And I'll be back in a little.
If we wait, you'll give us two?
Yep, if you wait, you get two. Or you can eat it now, whichever you want. Okay? I'll be back in a little bit.
We're gonna wait. I wonder what we're gonna do. Are you gonna eat it? If I want to eat something. Or we're still not gonna get to. But if you wait until she gets back, she'll give you two. She still won't give you two because you ate it. Some of it. And I didn't eat a single bite of it. So don't show her, okay?
So I have this marshmallow, and you can eat it now, or if you wait a little bit, I'll bring back 2 for you to eat, okay? How you doing, Sam? Good. You're eating. Okay, well, I'm gonna go and I haven't found the marshmallows yet, so I'm gonna look for some more, but you stay here, and if you haven't eaten that one, I'll bring you back another one, okay? I'll be right back.
Waiting. Well, you're eating, not waiting for her to give back. I still ate some of it, so she's still not gonna give it to her. Let's say in your chair.
Here it comes.
There.
Oh, what happened?
She ate her.
Oh, okay. Hi, Hunter, you waited. You get 2. Good job. You can eat it. You can eat them now.
This video provides an excellent demonstration of the continuum of development for SEL skills of impulse control. It illustrates the idea of developmental continuum for each skill, that children may be at any point on the continuum regardless of their age. Some 5-year-olds were willing to wait and anticipating having 2 marshmallows. Some will just eat the first one right away. Both responses are considered in the typical range. Note the different ages of the children in the video, especially in the older boy, younger girl clip. The older boy has developed the skills for impulse control and managing the stress of waiting for the second marshmallow. The girl, still too young, has not. But it could also have been the reverse because of the wide individual variation in skill acquisition. On the next slide, we'll consider some strategies to scaffold building impulse control and the ability to delay gratification. Open your Standards Booklet to page 12, SEL 4, or the Connecting to the Standards Booklet 2, page 4. In order to support the child to demonstrate impulse control and stress management, we need to support, guide, and give opportunities for the child to practice the skill. It is also just as important for the adults in their world to model this type of behavior, which we often find difficult to do as adults. This slide is about prioritizing SEL, APL development in the educational setting. Please take a moment to look at the NAEYC Developmentally Appropriate Practice handout on page 10 in the Course Resource Booklet 1. Now, think back to the earlier camera lens slide and the metaphor of shifting the lens. This slide and the handout both stress the importance of the environment early educators create, the routine, the way we greet children, the way we speak to them, the feedback we give, the expectations we communicate. The course will revisit these topics in Module 3. The next 2 slides review the key points for this module. Please read them. This concludes Module 1 PowerPoint. Please return to Blackboard and complete your assignments if you have not already done so. Please be sure also to complete your assessment of learning for this module. Thanks, and I'll see you in Module 2.